So as Milton said, I've been involved in soccer my entire career, and my team knows that they usually don't get out of a presentation without me bringing up something, and I call it football, by the way. It's American football and football. So I'm just going to give a quick shout out to Liverpool, who won 4-3 today against RB Salzburg. So I work for Berkshire Hathaway. I work for a division called Home State Companies, and of course when I say Home State Companies, everyone says, oh, you're a realtor. It is a little bit misleading. BHHC is one of the top 5 workers' comp insurance companies in the country. We are also the largest workers' comp insurer here in California. So we do quite a bit of insuring of people and injured workers. What my focus here at this company is to build applications and focus on our customers and our customer journeys. And we define customers in 4 different ways. We have our internal users, who are our customers of our applications. We have our agents and brokers, who are the primary distribution channel for us. We have our policyholders, so the companies that have our policies, but then we also have the injured workers. And so today I want to focus more on the injured workers aspect of this, and how do we help the injured worker and also save insurance costs. So we'll talk about, what are the cost drivers with insurance, ways insurance companies can help contain the costs, how can telemedicine help reduce costs, both at the point of injury as well as throughout the claim lifecycle, and then we'll talk about data and analytics. So some of the claims cost drivers, time to report a claim. So we all know that the longer it takes to report a claim, the higher the potential costs it will be. So how can we get these claims reported quicker and identified so we can get the first report of injury in? The length of a claim. The longer it takes to resolve a claim, the costlier it will be. One of the drivers is that we don't like long listed claims. So claims that are going on for a long time have a higher propensity to just be settled so we can close them. And a lot of times we'll settle the claim simply because we want the claim closed, but it may be for a cost that is higher than would be if we just continue to pay out. Litigation. Apologies to any lawyers in here, but litigation is a huge cost for claims. Now, some of the litigation we can't prevent, right? Claims that come with representation already gets back to that first point. Typically, if a claim doesn't get opened right away, when the claim shows up, it's usually showing up with a lawyer in tow. That's going to be more costly. The ones we can complain or contain better are claims that become litigated. So these are claims that come in, they don't have representation, but we don't do a good job managing the claim, or we don't do a good job managing the injured worker's experience. They're unhappy. An unhappy injured worker tends to lead to a larger propensity of litigated claims. So how do we contain some of these costs? Well, first, you can aggressively manage your reserves. So every claim gets a reserve set aside for it that we try to manage to, and some insurance companies will try to drive their reserves down and aggressively manage to a lower number so they can keep their claims costs low. Well, what does that usually do? Workers aren't happy. They're trying to get healthy, get back to work, and their claims are being denied, or their reimbursements are getting denied. That makes them unhappy. They tend to come and find a lawyer. Being proactive in your claims, so being able to manage, how the claim is being conducted. Is the worker going to their appointments on time? Are they following up on treatment? So being proactive in managing that claim will help reduce the costs. Reducing leakage, these are all your hidden costs in a claim. These are the small incremental costs that you're going to incur in the normal course of business, that if you're not actively managing them, you will see your claim costs increase by smaller increments. And when you're managing thousands, tens of thousands of claims a year, that adds up. Remote nurse case management. Rather than sending a worker to a nurse or to a doctor to get follow-up treatment to see how they're doing with their injury and recovery, being able to remotely manage and remotely talk with this person and the injured worker is going to make their experience better, as well as help us understand how they are progressing along with their treatment. Increase the experience and education of the injured worker. This is the first time most people go through this experience. It's pretty traumatic. They're injured, they're hurt, they want to get recovered. The faster we can get them recovered, the faster they get back to work, the less expensive the claim will be. The more education we can give to them and make it easier, they're going to be much happier with their overall experience. And then, of course, telemedicine. And so now how can telemedicine help us reduce costs? Well, first, at the point of injury. So providing telemedicine support to our policyholders. At the point of injury, you can get somebody in front of a medical professional without having them need to go directly to the emergency room. Emergency room costs are very expensive. So the remote nurse triage, rather than putting someone in front of a claims professional who doesn't have a medical background, they're processing paperwork, they're processing your claim, get them in front of a nurse, somebody that can show them empathy, understand what they're going through. They are more likely to talk about their injury remotely with a nurse than they would with a claims professional. Up to 30% of claims do not need to be filed as a claim. Sometimes medical guidance is sufficient. The largest cost over time now, it used to be indemnity claims. So people are injured, they're out of work, we're paying their medical, we're also paying lost wages, et cetera. The largest amount of claims now are medical only. So these are the claims: you got injured, you went to the emergency room, you got some treatment, you got some medicine, you got an expensive sling for your arm, and now you're back to work within a week. If you're not out of work for more than a week, it never goes to an indemnity claim. Medical only claims now are more than 60% of total claim costs. Then direct workers that need treatment to the right provider. If you do need treatment, you may not need to go to the emergency room. You may want to follow up with a specialist on the next day. You may not need to go to your general practitioner. So if we can reduce the very costly ER visits, and we can send you to a specialist without having to go to your primary care doctor first, we can actually reduce the overall cost of the claim. Now, throughout the claim life cycle, we need to meet the injured worker where they are. Everybody here, I keep seeing hands going up with cell phones or tablets. If you're injured, your chances are you're at work, you're at home recovering, and you've got your mobile. That's where the person is. So rather than making that person, while they're recovering, go to a facility to get treatment, let's follow up with some of their visits remotely. That's where they are. So let's meet them there. Provide support during the treatment. So workers are going to have questions that you give them that treatment right where they are without having to go to a facility. They can ask questions of a medical professional or a nurse without having to go to a doctor. It gives them that instant feedback that they need. And again, a happier injured worker leads to less litigation. Data and analytics, I'm going to go quickly because I'm getting cards here telling me I'm long-winded. Data collected and aggregated can be used to improve underwriting models and decisions. The more data points that we get, as we can collect more information from all of the telemedicine and the analytics we're getting from telemedicine, that will go into all the insurance models that help us price out workers' comp policies. And that will give us a much better indicator on what to charge and what not to charge. Analytics on claim information can be more accurate on reserving for claims. So how much do we set aside? How much do we think this claim is going to cost? What do we want to settle the claim for, or what do we want to pay in terms of the medical costs or indemnity? Overall increase in injured workers' satisfaction by responding to their feedback. Building applications, I want to give people more functionality tomorrow than they had today. So by having a very tight feedback loop with our injured workers, it will allow us to put features and functionality into the applications that they're using so that further injured workers have a much better experience. Then finally, increase awareness and training for the policyholders to improve the working conditions, because the cheapest claim is the claim that was never filed. I just made it.
I'm Camille Hinojosa, and I noticed that absent is the mention of occupational medicine, which we are expert at keeping claims down and getting them back to work. Yes. And I don't know if you had meant that when you said specialist, because we avoid sending them to a surgeon. We can take care of it conservatively and avoid that claim, and especially if occupational medicine is aware of best practice, we can, we're thinking that. The other thing is a lot of the analytics are in MD guidelines. They collect that data, and we look at that to drive the duration of that claim, that sort of thing. So.
Yeah, no, correct. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Account for 90% of the cost of the system. What is your take on catastrophic care claim administration?
In terms of?
Well, Berkshire's strategy.
Well, I mean, certainly we want to take care of, catastrophic, whether it's a lifelong injury, those claims are obviously going to be very long, or catastrophic, which could be a death. You never know what the risk of a claim is going to be, or a policy when you write it. You've got your models, they give you the best information you can get, but if you write something that you think is not risky and you have a death, that just became a very expensive claim. We want to do what's right by the injured workers and take care of them. And in the case of long-standing claims or injury or death, it's something that we never like to see happen, but we're insuring against those. And you're correct, about 10%, I think it's closer to 6% of all claims make up 90% of the claim costs.
Great. I think in the interest of time, we're going to definitely feel free to grab him for
I'll be around for a while.
for this reception. Thank you so much.